All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into the absolute bedrock of digital security. We are looking at authentication and authorization attacks for day 34. By the time we wrap up this explainer, I promise you're going to see the digital doors and locks of the internet in a completely different light. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for the day. First, we'll hit the day 34 objectives. Then we'll unpack the core mechanisms and concepts, explore the primary attack vectors, and finally, we'll get our hands dirty with the lab and project. Kicking things off with Section 1, the day 34 objectives. So right out of the gate, we have to clear up the most critical distinction for today: authentication versus authorization. You know, people mix these up literally all the time, but they are entirely different beasts. Actually, think of it like a nightclub bouncer. Authentication, that's when you walk up to the door and hand the bouncer your ID. He checks the picture, checks the date of birth, and verifies that you are exactly who you say you are. You've proved your identity. But that absolutely doesn't mean you can just wander anywhere in the club, right? Authorization is when that same bouncer checks his clipboard to see if your name is actually on the VIP list. So authentication is who are you, and authorization is what are you allowed to do. If you keep this bouncer metaphor in mind, trust me, the rest of today's concepts are going to snap perfectly into place. Moving right along to Section 2, Core Mechanisms and Concepts. Right at the top of our list is the JWT, or JSON Web Token. And man, this completely revolutionizes our bouncer metaphor. See, instead of the bouncer having to constantly run back to some central office to check his master VIP list every single time you try to enter a new room, a JWT is like being handed a secure, tamper-proof wristband. When you authenticate successfully, the server basically slaps this wristband on you. It contains your identity and your permissions, all bundled up into this compact, URL-safe string of characters. From then on, you just present this token with your requests, and the server simply checks the cryptographic signature to know it's valid. It is incredibly efficient, which is exactly why it's a primary modern mechanism. But as you'll see a bit later, if that wristband isn't secured properly, well, it becomes a massive liability. And this brilliantly illustrates our next core protocol, OAuth. This is the industry standard protocol for authorization. I mean, have you ever signed into a new app and just clicked continue with Google or log in with GitHub? Yep, that's OAuth in action. You're basically telling Google, hey, it's me. Go ahead and give this new application a temporary valet key to access my basic profile info, but under no circumstances do you give them my actual password. It allows one service to securely authorize another service to access your data without ever exposing your core credentials. Honestly, it's just an incredibly powerful delegation framework. Finally, wrapping up our core concepts, we have MFA, or multi-factor authentication. Look, in today's threat landscape, relying on just a password, that is a total recipe for disaster. MFA layers on this very necessary friction and security on top of our other mechanisms. It forces you to provide 2 or more verification factors to get access. So it's something you know, like a password, combined with something you have, like a code sent to your phone, or maybe something you are, like a fingerprint. It's an absolutely critical layer of defense, and it literally stops a vast majority of basic automated attacks dead in their tracks. So we have JWTs, OAuth, and MFA in place, which brings us to Section 3, primary attack vectors. How do attackers actually get in? Well, here is the crucial point. Attackers rarely try to break the complex cryptography directly. Instead, they exploit human error, misconfigurations, and logical flaws. First up, let's look at session hijacking. Remember that JWT wristband we talked about? If an attacker can steal your valid token, maybe by intersecting it over an unencrypted network, or just pulling it straight from your browser's local storage, they don't even need your password. They just slap on your wristband and the server welcomes them in like they own the place. Crazy, right? Second, we have password attacks. Even with all these advanced systems, so many applications still fall back on basic passwords. Attackers will use automated scripts to just hammer away with thousands of common passwords. Or they'll take passwords exposed in other companies' data breaches and test them against your accounts, basically just crossing their fingers that you reuse them. It is a constant, ongoing battle against these 2 specific vectors. Okay, time to accelerate a bit. Let's move away from the theory and jump into Section 4, the hands-on lab and project. Let's see how this all builds together in practice today. You've got 2 active steps to complete. Step 1 is your lab, and your goal here is to actively exploit weak authentication. You're going to put on the attacker's hat, look at a vulnerable system, and literally figure out how to bypass the bouncer. This hands-on exploitation is absolutely crucial for understanding just how fragile a poorly configured system really is. Then, step 2 is your project. You're going to build a JWT security analyzer. So you'll take everything you learned about how tokens are structured and signed, and you're going to create a tool that automatically inspects JWTs for common security flaws and misconfigurations. You're moving straight from breaking a system in the lab to building a defensive tool in the project. It's a really fantastic, comprehensive learning loop. As we wrap up this explainer for day 34, I want to leave you with a final critical thought to chew on before you open up your terminal. You know what a JWT is now. You know how it functions, and you definitely know how attackers target it. So as you start coding your project today, ask yourself, are your JWTs truly secure? Or are you just handing out VIP wristbands to anyone who asks for one? Keep that mindset sharp, dive into the lab, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.